Captain Jake Morrison stared at the display screen in front of him. The numbers on the monitor made no sense. For 3 days, his ship New Horizons had been picking up strange signals from deep space. The signals were not random noise. They had patterns. They had meaning. "Lisa, come look at this," Jake called to his science officer. Dr. Lisa Hammond floated over in the zero gravity of the ship's command center. Her long brown hair moved like water around her face. She had been studying alien life for 10 years, but she had never seen anything like this. "What am I looking at, Jake?" she asked, pushing her glasses up her nose. "These signals started 3 days ago. They're coming from outside our solar system, way outside. But here's the weird part. They're getting stronger, but the source isn't. Getting closer. It's like someone is turning up the volume on a radio." Lisa grabbed the edge of Jake's chair and studied the data. The patterns were complex but not random. There were repeating sequences. Mathematical relationships. This was communication. "Jake, this isn't natural. Something intelligent is sending this." Before Jake could respond, the communications system came alive with a loud beep. The ship's computer had finally decoded part of the signal. Words appeared on the screen in perfect English. "Greetings, young species of the third planet. We are the Vorthak Collective. We have existed for 50 million of your years. We wish to speak." Jake and Lisa looked at each other. Neither spoke for a long moment. Finally, Jake reached for the communication controls. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration vessel New Horizons. We receive your message. We would be honored to speak with you." The reply came faster than light speed should have allowed. "Captain Morrison, we are pleased, but we cannot approach your world. We will not come closer than 20 of your light years to your solar system if you wish to meet. You must come to US." Lisa frowned. "Why won't they come here?" "That's strange. For a first contact situation." Jake sent another message. "May we ask why you cannot approach our solar system?" "We are peaceful. We mean no harm." The pause before the next reply lasted several minutes. When it came, the words sent a chill through both humans. "It is not you we fear, young Jake Morrison. Your world harbors more than just your kind. There are things on your planet that even we dare not disturb." Jake felt his stomach drop. "What do you mean? What things?" "We cannot speak of them through these channels. The very words might wake them. If you wish to understand, you must come to US. We will send coordinates." Commander Rick Taylor entered the command center at that moment. He was a big man with gray hair and tired eyes. Rick had been in space for 20 years, but he had never dealt with anything like this. "Jake, I'm getting reports from Earth. Every radio telescope on the planet is picking up these signals. The President wants to know what's happening." "We're in contact with aliens, Rick. They call themselves the Vorthak. They say they're 50 million years old." Rick whistled low. 50 million? That's older than most life on Earth. "That's not the strangest part," Lisa said. "They're afraid to come near Earth. They say there's something here besides humans." Rick looked confused. "What could be here that we don't know about? We've mapped every inch of the planet." Jake turned back to the communication system. "Vorthak Collective, what is on our world that concerns you? We have studied our planet for centuries. We know of no other intelligent life." The reply came quickly this time. "Your species is young. You have existed for only moments in cosmic time. The sleepers beneath have been there since before your sun was stable. They came before the first dawn of your world." Lisa grabbed Jake's arm. "Sleepers beneath? What does that mean?" Before Jake could ask, another message arrived. "We have watched your solar system for millions of your years. We know when the Great Impact happened. We know what was buried beneath your seas and mountains. We know why the great beasts died." Rick stepped closer to the screen. "Are they talking about the asteroid that killed the dinosaurs?" "That was nitrogen monoxide natural asteroid. Commander Taylor, IT was a prison, a containment vessel, and what IT contained still sleeps in the deep places of your world." The three humans stared at the screen in silence. Finally, Jake found his voice. "What was contained? What sleeps beneath Earth?" We cannot say more, other ears might hear, other minds might listen, but if you come to US, we will show you records. We will share what our ancestors witnessed. Be warned, once you know the truth, you cannot unknown it. Lisa was already pulling up star charts. Jake, look at this. The coordinates they sent, they want us to meet them 23 light years away. That's the Kepler 442 system. How long to get there? Rick asked, with our current FTL drive. About 6 months, Jake made his decision. Vorthek Collective, we accept your invitation. We will travel to the coordinates you provided. Humanity needs to know the truth about our world. Wise choice, Captain Morrison, but bring your best minds. Bring those who study the deep earth and the ancient past. What we will show you will change how your species sees itself forever. We also give you this warning. Do not dig too deep into your ocean floors. Do not probe too far into your impact craters. And above all, do not use your quantum technologies near the old sites. The sleepers stir when reality itself is disturbed. The communication ended. The 3 humans stood in the quiet command center, each lost in their own thoughts. Earth, their home, suddenly felt like a stranger. What slept beneath the oceans? What had been buried under the mountains? And why did beings 50 million years old still fear it? Jake looked at his crew. Rick, plot a course for Kepler 442. Lisa, gather every expert we can find. We're going to need geologists, archaeologists, and physicists. Something tells me we're about to learn that humans aren't alone on Earth after all. As New Horizons prepared for the longest journey in human history, none of them knew they were about to uncover the greatest secret in the galaxy. Earth was not just humanity's home, it was also a prison. And something deep below was beginning to wake up. Image description for Leonardo AI, a massive human spaceship floating in the darkness of space, with Earth visible as a blue marble in the background. The ship has multiple communication arrays and antennas pointing toward distant stars. Inside the ship's command center, 3 astronauts in blue uniforms are gathered around a glowing holographic display showing alien text. The scene has a mix of wonder and unease, with dramatic lighting from the ship's control panels casting shadows on their concerned faces. Deep space surrounds them with distant stars twinkling, while Earth appears peaceful but somehow ominous in the far distance. 6 months later, the New Horizons dropped out of faster-than-light travel in the Kepler 442 system. Captain Jake Morrison watched the stars settle into their normal patterns as the ship's engines powered down. They had traveled further from Earth than any human had ever gone before. "We're here," announced Lisa Hammond from her science station. "The coordinates match exactly what the Vorthek gave us." Ambassador Amy Chun stood near the main viewport, looking out at the alien stars. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and steady hands. The president had chosen her personally for this mission. Amy had spent her whole career dealing with difficult negotiations, but she had never tried to talk with beings 50 million years old. "Any sign of them?" Amy asked. "Not yet," replied Rick Taylor from the navigation console. "But their messages said they would find us when we arrived." Dr. Pete Johnson was busy at his geological workstation. He had spent the entire 6-month journey studying Earth's impact craters and extinction events. The more he learned, the more worried he became. The timing of the dinosaur extinction matched perfectly with what the Vorthek had told them. "Captain," Pete said, "I've been thinking about what they said. If that asteroid really was a prison, then we need to understand what was inside it. The impact that killed the dinosaurs happened 65 million years ago. That's a lot of time for something to be buried under our planet." Before Jake could respond, the ship's sensors started beeping. Something was approaching, but it didn't show up on normal scanners. Only the quantum detection equipment could sense it. "Contact," Lisa announced. "But this is strange. The object exists in normal space and somewhere else at the same time." Through the main viewport, a shape began to appear. It started as a shimmer in space, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Slowly, the shimmer became solid. What they saw took their breath away. The Vorthic ship was unlike anything humans had ever imagined. It looked like a living crystal that grew in impossible directions. Parts of it seemed to exist in 3 dimensions, while other parts stretched into spaces that human eyes couldn't quite see. The ship was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Incoming transmission," reported the communications officer. "Captain Morrison, Ambassador Chun, we greet you in the old way. Prepare your minds for what you will see. We are not as your kind." Amy stepped forward. "We are ready. We come in peace and friendship." A beam of light connected the 2 ships. When it faded, 3 beings stood in the center of the New Horizons command deck. They had arrived without using any transport device that the humans could detect. The Vorthic were even stranger in person than their ship. They looked like living crystals shaped roughly like tall, thin people. Their bodies seemed to be made of clear glass filled with swirling lights. But the most unsettling thing was how they flickered in and out of normal vision, as if they existed in several dimensions at once. The largest of the 3 beings stepped forward. When it spoke, the words came from inside everyone's head rather than through the air. "I am Elder Zixthal. I have lived for 12 million of your years. These are my companions, Keeper Veltar and Watcher Noxum. We come to share a burden that has weighed on our kind since before your sun learned to burn steadily." Amy found her voice. "Elder Zixthal, we are honored by your presence. Humanity seeks to understand the truth about our world." The Elder's crystalline form pulsed with darker colors. "Truth is a heavy gift, Ambassador Chun. Once given, it cannot be returned. Your species is young. You have known the light of consciousness for only moments in cosmic time. Are you certain you wish to carry the knowledge we bear?" Pete stepped forward. "Elder, our planet is our home. If there's something there that affects us, we need to know." Zixthal turned toward Pete, and the human felt ancient eyes studying him from across dimensions. "You study the bones of the earth, Dr. Johnson. You have touched the boundary layers. You have seen the melted rock and the scattered elements. Tell me, what do your instruments say about the Great Impact?" Pete swallowed nervously. "The asteroid impact that ended the Cretaceous period was massive. It left traces all over the world. But some of the mineral compositions don't match any known space rocks. And the energy release was far greater than the size of the crater should allow." "Because it was not a simple rock," said Keeper Veltar, speaking for the first time. "It was a containment vessel, a prison built by beings far older than we are, built to hold entities that consume entire star systems." The humans stared in shocked silence. Finally, Jake found his voice. "What kind of entities?" Elder Zixthal's form darkened further. "They have no name in your language. In the old tongue, they were called the Devourers of Light. They exist partially outside normal space and time. They feed on the fundamental forces that hold reality together. A single one of them can unravel the physics of an entire galaxy." Lisa's scientific mind struggled to understand. "How is that possible? Nothing can exist outside the laws of physics." "Your laws are local rules, Dr. Hammond," explained Watcher Noxum. "In the vast spaces between realities, different rules apply. The Devourers learned to use those rules to tear holes in what you call normal space. They would enter a galaxy, consume its energy, and move on to the next. 17 galaxies fell to them before the ancient races found a way to imprison them." Amy felt cold fear growing in her stomach. "And you're saying they're buried under Earth?" "3 of them," Zixthal confirmed. "The prison vessel was designed to bury itself deep in a young world's crust. Your planet was chosen because it was far from major trade routes and had only simple life forms. The impact was meant to ensure the prison stayed buried under miles of rock and ocean." Pete was making rapid calculations. "But that was 65 million years ago? How do we know they're still contained?" The Elder's form flickered with alarm. "Because your species has begun to disturb them. Your quantum technologies send ripples through dimensions. Every time you experiment with faster-than-light travel, you weaken the prison walls. Every quantum computer you build creates small tears in reality. The Devourers feel these disturbances. They are beginning to stir." Rick stepped closer. Are you saying our technology is dangerous? More dangerous than you can imagine, Veltar replied. We have been monitoring your world for the last century. Each advance in quantum science makes the prison weaker. The sleeping entities are starting to probe the boundaries of their cage. Jake felt the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. What happens if they break free? Elder Zixthal answered, chill them all to the bone. If even one escapes, your galaxy will begin to die within 1,000 years. If all three break free together, reality itself will start to unravel. Every star, every planet, every living thing will be consumed. And then they will move on to the next galaxy, and the next, until the universe is empty and cold. The humans stood in stunned silence. Earth wasn't just their home. It was a prison guarding entities that could destroy everything they had ever known. And humanity's greatest achievements were slowly setting those entities free. Amy looked at the ancient beings before her. What can we do? That, said Elder Zixthal, is what we must discuss. Image description for Leonardo AI. Inside a spaceship command center, 3 crystalline alien beings made of transparent glass-like material, with swirling lights inside their bodies, stand facing 5 human astronauts in blue uniforms. The aliens are tall and thin, flickering between dimensions, existing partially in normal space and partially elsewhere. The largest alien has darker colors pulsing through its crystal form. The humans look amazed and frightened. The scene is lit by holographic displays showing star charts and quantum readings. Through large windows, an impossible crystal ship is visible floating in space, stretching into dimensions that hurt to look at directly. Dr. Kate Sullivan checked her diving equipment one more time. The research vessel Deep Explorer rocked gently above the Mariana Trench, the deepest part of Earth's oceans. Kate had been a marine biologist for 15 years, but she had never gone looking for alien prisons before. Are you sure about these coordinates? Asked her research partner, Dr. Carlos Mendez. He was a young scientist with nervous energy and too much curiosity for his own good. Kate looked at the data pad in her hands. The coordinates had come directly from the Vorthek through Captain Morrison's team. Elder Zixthal had been very specific about where to look. The Vorthek said the main prison chamber is 11 kilometers down, buried under the deepest part of the trench. If we're going to find anything, it'll be there. The submersible Deep Seeker was the most advanced underwater vehicle humanity had ever built. It could dive deeper than any other craft and survive pressures that would crush a normal submarine like a tin can. But even with all that technology, Kate felt nervous about what they might find down there. Descent beginning, announced the pilot, Dr. Maria Santos. She was an experienced deep-sea explorer who had made more dives to the ocean floor than anyone alive. 11 kilometers is a long way down. This is going to take 3 hours. As they descended through the layers of ocean, Kate watched the sunlight fade away. First it became blue-green, then dark blue, then black. By the time they reached 5 kilometers down, their lights were the only illumination in a world of endless night. Temperatures dropping faster than normal, Carlos observed, watching his instruments. And the water pressure readings are strange. It's like the water is denser than it should be. At 8 kilometers down, their equipment started acting up. The sonar began showing impossible readings, echoes coming back from directions that had no solid objects. The magnetic compass spun wildly before settling on a heading that pointed straight down through the earth. This is weird, Maria muttered, fighting to keep the submersible stable. It feels like we're flying through thick soup. The water resistance is way higher than it should be. At 10 kilometers, they saw the first signs that something was very wrong. Strange lights flickered in the distance, not the bioluminescence of deep-sea creatures, but geometric patterns that pulsed with unnatural colors. The lights seemed to exist in the water itself, not attached to any living thing. Kate, look at this, Carlos said, his voice tight with worry. He was staring at his quantum field detector, an experimental device that measured space-time distortions. These readings don't make sense. According to this, space is folded in on itself down here. We're apparently moving through 7 dimensions at once. Kate felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold water outside. The Vorthak warned us about quantum distortions near the prison sites. At exactly 11 kilometers and 300 meters, they found it. The structure rose out of the ocean floor like a mountain made of impossible geometry. It looked like someone had taken a normal building and twisted it through dimensions that human eyes couldn't follow. Parts of it seemed solid, while other sections flickered in and out of existence. The whole thing hurt to look at directly. "Dear God," whispered Maria, "what is that thing?" Kate stared at the structure through the submersible's thick windows. "That's our alien prison. And according to the Vorthak, there are 3 entities sleeping somewhere inside it." As they moved closer, their instruments went completely haywire. The radio started picking up signals that sounded almost like voices speaking in unknown languages. The depth gauge showed they were simultaneously at 11 kilometers down and floating in empty space. Most disturbing of all, the chronometer began running backward. "We need to get readings and get out of here," Kate said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Carlos, start recording everything." "Maria, can you hold us steady for 10 minutes? "I'll try, but something's interfering with the controls. It's like the water itself is trying to push us away." Carlos aimed his instruments at the structure and began taking measurements. What he found made his hands shake. "Kate, this thing is generating its own gravity field." "And the quantum readings?" "There are spaces inside it that are bigger than the outside. It's like someone folded space into impossible shapes." As they worked, Kate began to notice something disturbing. She was having flashes of images that weren't from her own memory. She saw vast creatures with too many tentacles swimming through empty space between stars. She saw galaxies going dark one by one as something consumed them from the inside. "Did you guys see that?" Carlos asked suddenly. "See what?" Maria replied. "Those tentacles?" "Something huge just moved past us." Kate looked around frantically, but she saw only empty water. Yet she had felt something too, a presence so large and alien that her mind could barely process it. "We're not alone down here," she whispered. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, archaeologist Dr. Ben Rodriguez was having his own disturbing discoveries. He stood at the edge of the Chicxulub crater in Mexico, the site where the asteroid had hit Earth 65 million years ago. In his hands, he held a tablet showing ground-penetrating radar images of what lay beneath the crater. "This doesn't look like any impact crater I've ever seen," said his assistant, Dr. Nancy Cole. She was a young archaeologist with a talent for finding patterns in ancient sites, then studied the radar data. Deep under the crater, the images showed the same kind of impossible geometry that Kate was finding in the ocean, structures that twisted through dimensions, chambers that existed in spaces that shouldn't be able to fit together. "Look at these cave paintings," Nancy said, pointing to photographs from sites around the world. "I've been comparing ancient art from every continent. Australia, Europe, Africa, the Americas, they all show the same symbols around the time of the Great Extinction." Ben looked at the paintings. They all showed the same scene, tentacled creatures falling from the sky, followed by massive explosions and darkness. But most interesting were the human figures in the paintings. They weren't running away from the creatures. They were pointing at burial sites as if warning future generations about what was hidden underground. "These aren't just random cave paintings," Ben realized. "They're warnings. The humans who survived the impact left messages about what got buried." As Ben studied the ancient warnings, he began to experience the same strange visions that Kate was having in the deep ocean. Images of creatures that existed partially outside normal space, memories that weren't his own, and always the feeling that something vast and hungry was stirring in the depths below, back on the ocean floor. Kate's team was preparing to leave when their submersible's lights began to dim. Not because the power was failing, but because something was absorbing the light itself. "Maria, get us out of here." "Now?" Kate ordered Dot as the Deep Seeker began its ascent. Kate looked back at the alien structure. For just a moment, she thought. She saw something moving inside it. Something huge and tentacled and aware. Something that had noticed her looking. The ascent took 3 hours, but it felt like days. All three scientists experienced vivid nightmares while awake, visions of empty galaxies and dying stars. When they finally reached the surface, they were changed. They had seen the prison, and the prison had seen them. Dr. Kate Sullivan's report would send shockwaves through the scientific community. Humanity had found proof of the alien warnings. Earth was indeed a prison, and something inside that prison was beginning to wake up. The question now was whether humanity could find a way to keep it sleeping, or if their own technology would be the key that finally set it free. Image description for Leonardo AI. A futuristic deep-sea submersible with three scientists visible through its thick glass windows, illuminated by the sub's bright lights in the absolute darkness of the deep ocean. Outside the submersible, an impossible alien structure rises from the ocean floor. A massive geometric prison that seems to fold through multiple dimensions, with parts solid and other parts flickering in and out of existence. Strange geometric? Lights pulse within the structure in unnatural colors. The water around the structure seems thick and distorted, bending light in wrong directions. In the background, shadows of massive tentacled shapes can barely be seen moving within the alien prison. The scene conveys both deep-sea exploration and cosmic horror. Dr. Tony Martinez stared at the quantum field readings on his computer screen. For the third time in an hour, he checked the calculations. The numbers were terrifying, but they were also correct. Every quantum experiment on Earth was making the situation worse. Tony ran the Global Quantum Research Initiative from a laboratory complex in Switzerland. He was the smartest quantum physicist on the planet, but right now he felt very stupid. For 20 years, he had been pushing the boundaries of quantum technology. Now he was learning that every breakthrough had been a step toward disaster. Dr. Martinez, called his assistant, Dr. Rachel Green. The readings from the deep ocean sites are getting stronger. The quantum distortions are spreading. Tony pulled up the global monitoring network on his main display. Red warning indicators covered the screen like a rash. Every major quantum research facility on Earth was reporting the same thing. Reality was becoming unstable near their laboratories. Show me the timeline correlation, Tony said. Rachel brought up a chart that made Tony's blood run cold. Every major advance in quantum computing matched exactly with increased activity from the prison sites. When they had built the first large quantum computer 10 years ago, seismic sensors had detected movement 11 kilometers under the Mariana Trench. When they had achieved quantum teleportation, monitoring stations around the world had recorded gravitational anomalies. And just last month, when they had successfully tested faster-than-light communication, something very large had moved beneath the Chicxulub crater. We've been waking them up, Tony whispered. Every quantum experiment sends ripples through dimensions. Every FTL test weakens the prison walls. Before Rachel could respond, the laboratory's communication system activated. It was an emergency transmission from Captain Morrison on the New Horizons. Dr. Martinez, this is urgent. The Vorthak are sending continuous warnings now. Elder Zixel says the quantum barriers around Earth are failing faster than they expected. Tony activated the reply function. Captain, how much time do we have? Jake Morrison's voice carried fear and exhaustion. They don't know exactly. But other alien species across the galaxy are detecting the instabilities. Ancient monitoring. Stations that have been silent for millions of years are suddenly activating. Something is stirring and everyone can feel it. As if summoned by their words, the laboratory's quantum sensors erupted with warnings. Something was happening at research facilities around the world. Tony pulled up feeds from quantum labs in Japan, Australia, and the United States. What he saw made him step back from the screen. At every major quantum research site, reality was behaving strangely. In Tokyo, lab equipment was aging years and minutes. In Sydney, gravitational fields were fluctuating wildly, making objects float and crash randomly. In California, ordinary matter was spontaneously converting to unknown forms of energy. It's happening everywhere, Rachel said, her voice shaking. Whatever's in those prisons is testing the barriers. Tony's personal communication device chimed with an incoming message. It was from Dr. Emma Walsh, his colleague at the European Quantum Facility. But when he read the message, his hands started shaking. Tony, this isn't Emma. I am something else wearing her form. I have been sleeping for 65 million years, but your quantum experiments have been like alarm clocks, ringing in my dreams. I'm starting to remember what I am. I'm starting to remember why I was imprisoned. Soon I will remember how to break free. Tony dropped the device like it was on fire. Rachel, initiate emergency shutdown of all quantum experiments. Now. All of them? Tony, that means shutting down every quantum computer, every FTL communication system, every advanced research project on Earth. Do it whatever the cost. As Rachel began the emergency protocols, reports flooded in from around the world. The entity that had taken over Dr. Walsh wasn't the only one making contact. Scientists at quantum facilities everywhere were receiving similar messages. The sleeping entities were using human minds as communication devices, speaking through people who got too close to quantum distortions. In Miami, Dr. Frank Cooper suddenly began speaking in languages that didn't exist, warning that the devourers of light were remembering their purpose. In Berlin, Dr. Lisa Park wrote equations on her laboratory walls that described how to unravel the fundamental forces of the universe. In Beijing, Dr. Kevin Liu began drawing maps of galaxies that had been consumed millions of years ago. All of them spoke with voices that weren't their own. All of them carried messages from things that had been imprisoned since before humans existed. Captain Morrison's voice came through the communication system again. Dr. Martinez, we're receiving transmissions from alien species across the galaxy. They're all saying the same thing. Get away from Earth before it's too late. Tony pulled up the incoming alien messages. The translations were rough, but the meaning was clear. Species that had never contacted humans before were sending warnings. The Xanthari Republic advised immediate evacuation of the solar system. The Quantum Collective reported detecting reality storms emanating from Earth. Most disturbing of all, the ancient observers, beings even older than the Vorthek, had broken their million-year silence to send a single message. The sleepers. Wake, the galaxy dies. Flee now. How many species are sending warnings? Tony asked. Over 300, Jake replied. Every advanced civilization in our part of the galaxy. They're all terrified. As Tony processed this information, his laboratory's main quantum computer began behaving strangely. The screen displayed images that no human program had created, vast creatures swimming through the empty spaces. Between stars, galaxies going dark one by one, civilizations fleeing as reality itself began to unravel. The computer is showing us memories, Rachel said in amazement. Memories from the entities in the prisons. Tony watched the images with growing horror. He saw the entities when they were free, being so large they used star systems as stepping stones. He saw them feeding on the fundamental forces that held reality together, leaving behind empty voids where galaxies had once existed. He saw 17 different galactic civilizations trying to fight them, and 17 civilizations failing. Then he saw the final battle, the combined effort of every surviving species in the universe to build prison vessels strong enough to contain the entities. The desperate plan to bury them in young worlds far from major civilizations. The hope that they would sleep forever in their quantum cages. They almost succeeded, Tony realized. The ancient races almost saved the universe. But we're undoing all their work. The images on the screen changed, showing Earth's future if the entities broke free. Tony saw the planet's surface cracking as reality distorted around the emerging creatures. He saw the sun flickering as the entities fed on its nuclear fire. He saw the solar system becoming a dead zone where physics no longer worked properly. Then, the images spread outward, showing the effect on nearby star systems. The quantum distortions would spread like a virus, weakening reality across the entire galaxy. One by one, stars would go out. Planets would dissolve into component atoms. Space itself would become too unstable to support matter. If even one of them escapes, Tony said quietly, it's the end of everything. Rachel was frantically working at her console. Tony, the quantum shutdown isn't working. The entities are using our own quantum entanglement networks to maintain the distortions. Every time we try to shut down a quantum system, something else activates to replace it. They're learning, Tony realized. They're studying our technology and figuring out how to use it against us. Captain Morrison's voice came through again, but this time it sounded different. More formal, more ancient. Dr. Martinez, this is Elder Zixthel speaking through your communication system. The situation has become critical. The barriers are failing faster than our most pessimistic calculations predicted. You have perhaps days before the first entity breaks free. What can we do? Tony asked. There is one possibility, the Elder replied, but it requires a sacrifice that your species may not be willing to make. You must choose between your technological future and your survival. Image description for Leonardo AI. Inside, a modern quantum physics laboratory filled with complex equipment and holographic displays. A scientist in a white lab coat stares in horror at computer screens showing impossible images of tentacled, cosmic entities swimming through space between dying stars. The screens display galaxies going dark and reality itself unraveling. Behind him, quantum computers are sparking and malfunctioning, their displays showing alien symbols and equations. Through the laboratory windows, the sky appears distorted, with strange geometric patterns and unnatural colors. Other scientists in the background are writing alien equations on whiteboards while their eyes glow with an otherworldly light, suggesting they are being possessed or influenced by the awakening. Entities. Dr. Susan Clark stood before the emergency assembly of world leaders in the United Nations building. Every president, prime minister, and head of state on Earth was present, either in person or through secure video links. The fate of not just humanity, but the entire galaxy rested on the decision they would make in the next few hours. The choice is simple, Susan said, though her voice shook with the weight of what she was about to explain. We can evacuate Earth completely and join the galactic community in exile, or we can stay and find a way to keep the prison sealed forever. President Harris of the United States leaned forward. Dr. Clark, explain the evacuation option. How many people can we save? Susan looked at her notes. The numbers were heartbreaking. The Vorthik and their allies can provide transport for maybe 50 million humans. That's less than 1% of our population. Everyone else would have to stay behind and... She couldn't finish the sentence. And die when the entities break free, finished Prime Minister Chun of China. Elder Zixthel's crystalline form appeared. In the center of the assembly hall, the ancient being had been monitoring the discussion through quantum communication. The evacuation ships are ready, human leaders. But know this, if you choose to flee, Earth must be destroyed completely. We cannot allow even the smallest chance that the entities might escape. The hall erupted in angry voices. President Nakamura of Japan stood up. You're asking us to abandon our world and watch it be destroyed. That's not really a choice at all. The alternative, Zixthel replied, is to find a way to strengthen the prison without using quantum technology. In 65 million years, no species has discovered how to do this. The original builders of the prison are long extinct. Their methods died with them. That's when engineer Matt Turner spoke up from the back of the hall. He was a young man with dirty hands and an old backpack, completely out of place among world leaders, but he had been invited because he had an idea that everyone else thought was crazy. What if we're thinking about this wrong? Matt said, walking toward the front of the assembly. Everyone's trying to match alien technology with human technology. But what if our strength isn't our machines? President Harris looked confused. What do you mean? Matt pulled out a tablet showing biological scans of Earth's deep ocean areas. I've been studying Dr. Sullivan's data from the Mariana Trench. The quantum distortions are strongest near the prison, but they get weaker as you move away. It's like something is naturally dampening them. What kind of something? Asked Dr. Clark, Life itself, Matt replied. Earth's biosphere. Every living thing on the planet is connected through electromagnetic fields, chemical signals, and quantum entanglement at the cellular level. The entire planet is one giant biological quantum network. Elder Zixthal S. Form pulsed with interest. Continue, young engineer. Matt activated his presentation. The original prison builders had to use artificial quantum dampeners. But Earth has something they didn't. 4 billion years of evolved life. Every tree, every bacterium, every human being is part of a natural quantum field that spans the entire planet. President Martinez of Brazil stood up. Are you saying our planet's life force can strengthen the prison? Not just strengthen it, Matt said, his excitement growing. Replace it entirely. Instead of artificial barriers, we use biological ones. We turn Earth's entire biosphere into a living prison wall. The assembly hall fell silent. Finally, Dr. Clark spoke. Matt, that's an incredible idea, but how would it work? Matt pulled up genetic modification charts. We engineer quantum-sensitive organisms, plants, bacteria, even modified human cells. We spread them throughout Earth's biosphere. They would create a natural quantum dampening field that gets stronger over time instead of weaker. But, Matt continued, his voice becoming serious, it means Earth becomes permanently isolated. No more FTL travel, no more quantum computers, no more advanced space exploration. We become the galaxy's guardians, but we can never leave. The world leaders looked at each other. They were being asked to give up humanity's dreams of exploring the stars in order to save the galaxy from destruction. President Harris was the first to speak. How long would this containment last? Forever, Matt replied honestly. The biological barriers would be self-renewing, growing stronger with each generation. But humanity would have to stay on Earth to maintain them. We'd be prison guards for eternity. Elder Zixthal floated closer to Matt. Young human, your proposal is unlike anything we have considered, but there is great risk. If your biological barriers fail, there will be no escape for your species. Then we better make sure they don't fail, Matt said with determination. As the assembly debated, reports came in from around the world. The entities were becoming more active. In California, reality distortions had caused an entire city block to age 50 years in 5 minutes. In Japan, gravitational anomalies were making the ocean flow uphill. In Australia, matter was spontaneously converting to energy, creating explosions that defied physics. Time was running out. President Harris called for a vote. All in favor of Matt Turner's biological containment plan. One by one, hands went up around the room. The decision was unanimous. Humanity chose to stay. Matt's plan moved forward with desperate speed. Genetic engineers around the world worked together to create quantum-sensitive organisms. Marine biologists released modified bacteria into the oceans. Agricultural scientists planted specially designed crops on every continent. Medical teams began administering genetic modifications to volunteers who would become living components of the biological barrier. Dr. Kate Sullivan led the underwater teams that placed the first biological dampeners around the Mariana Trench prison site. As the modified organisms took hold, the quantum distortions began to weaken for the first time in months. Dr. Ben Rodriguez coordinated the land-based installations at impact crater sites around the world. Ancient cave paintings guided them too, the exact locations where prehistoric humans had placed warning markers. It was as if Earth's first intelligent inhabitants had known this day would come. The process took 3 months. During that time, the entities made their final desperate attempts to break free. Entire coastlines were reshaped by reality storms. Mountains moved overnight. The sky itself cracked in places, showing glimpses of the void between dimensions, but gradually the biological barriers took effect. The quantum distortions stabilized, then began to fade. The entities' voices, which had been growing stronger in the minds of scientists worldwide, became whispers, then silenced. Matt Turner stood on a hillside overlooking the Pacific Ocean, watching the last FTL ship leave Earth's atmosphere. The ship carried messages to the galaxy. Earth was safe. The entities were contained, but humanity was staying behind. Elder Zixthel appeared beside him one final time. "You have done something remarkable, Matt Turner. You have saved not just your galaxy, but countless others that the entities might have reached. Your species will be remembered as the guardians who chose duty over dreams." Matt watched the ship disappear into faster-than-light travel. "Our children will never see the stars," he said quietly. "No," the elder agreed. "But because of your sacrifice, there will still be stars for other children to see. That is a worthy trade." As the years passed, Earth settled into its new role. The biological barriers grew stronger with each generation. Children learned from birth that they were guardians of something precious and terrible. Scientists found new ways to explore the universe through radio telescopes and unmanned probes, watching distant galaxies without ever leaving their post. The entities still slept beneath the Earth, but now they were held by bonds of life itself, bonds that grew stronger with every breath taken by every living thing on the planet. Humanity had given up the stars, but in return, they had saved the universe, and in the deep places of the Earth, 3 ancient nightmares slept peacefully, held in place by the dreams of 8 billion human guardians who would never let them wake again. Image description for Leonardo AI. A massive assembly hall filled with world leaders at podiums and screens, while a young engineer in work clothes stands at the center presenting holographic displays showing Earth's biosphere as a glowing network of quantum energy. Above the assembly, a crystalline alien being floats partially visible across multiple dimensions. Through tall windows, the Earth's surface shows reality distortions, warped buildings, floating objects, and cracks in the sky revealing cosmic void. In the foreground, genetic modification charts and biological data streams across transparent screens. The scene captures humanity making their final choice between technological advancement and galactic guardianship, with the weight of cosmic responsibility evident in every face.